So let's start with the Brute himself. He does 211 base damage, allowing him to one-shot goblins and below. However, he needs 2 hits to take down princesses and dark goblins. This already isn't very impressive, but we'll continue. His HP is 853, which is slightly above a bandit and slightly below elite barbarians. Once more, not really impressive to have similar HP to a free elixir bandit. His DPS is just above one singular elite barbarian, but below that of a prince. Once more, DPS similar to a single free elixir elite barb is pretty underwhelming. He's a very fast unit, allowing him to close things down pretty quickly compared to other troops. When left alone, he'll close down the tower super fast and deal over 1,000 damage to it. However, this is assuming that it'll be left unattended. He can be shut down pretty consistently for just free elixir. Knight, skeleton army, tombstone, bandit, goblin gang, and guards all killing him for just that free elixir mark. So he already doesn't have too much offensive potential. He's just like a plain old elite barbarian when attacking. His cooler interactions come on defense, utilizing his cage. He will fully counter hog riders, assuming you get the appropriate placement. Against giants, he'll allow just 1 hit. It's not perfection, but you gain 1 elixir for this trade and get the Brute on the counter attack. The cage and the Brute combined will actually lightning rod units, but 3 musketeers are still dead right now, so the usages for this are minimal. Overall, the stats for this are really weak and underwhelming to me. It's a single elite barb in a cage for 4 elixir, but how good actually is this defenseless cage? The HP of it is between that of a cannon and a furnace, so it keeps units in the center of the arena for a decent amount of time, but nothing extraordinary. It doesn't attack back, as we mentioned before, but keeping a unit in that 2 tower range and then popping a Brute is actually quite handy back here on your side of the arena. If the Brute is then facing a normal troop, it'll sit in that position and fight it relatively well. However, if it's against a building targeter, then your tower is the next target on that troop's hit list. So your ultimate usage case for this card is defending against those normal units. You want your opponent to have troops oncoming before you even place down the cage, and there are a few ways that you can make this happen within the game. By far the easiest one is to just attack yourself, start a golem in the back, wait for your opponent to defend this golem, and then use the cage to clean up whatever they defended with pretty effectively. This card works well especially in golem decks, because golem decks never really want to start off a game. You can sit and wait for your opponent, and then use the goblin cage reactively to whatever they play. In this waiting time, you're getting ever so closer to double elixir, which is when golem decks want to attack. Against units of all speeds, if you put the cage down right as you see your opponent place in the back, you'll get the Brute to fight on your side of the board, which is the ideal outcome. Against slow and medium units, the cage will pop and bring your Brute out to fight it. Against fast, very fast, and charging units, they'll come over to the cage and unlock the Brute from within it, which is just cool interactional knowledge to have. When defending against range units, it's best to place the cage right on top of them. This way, the Brute doesn't have to take unnecessary damage and he can just stand there and murder that troop. Against building targeters, the Brute will have to chase them down. His initial attack speed is actually quite slow, meaning that he'll attack, then stutter, and then have to run again. This is really inefficient on defense and makes me wonder about the card's actual power level. Overall, I think it's a really cool concept, but a somewhat weak card. What I think the dev team designed this to do was be an investment on your side of the board, and then either pop a unit that went and attacked, or defended a ton of troops. In actuality, the Brute himself is just sort of weak. He's like a lone E-barb. The cage can produce some cool interactions against certain cards, but really the whole card is a defensive tool through and through. It'll work nicely in decks that have heavy investments and need a defensive card, but don't expect this gob to ever get you damage within a game. He's just too fragile and easily defended. If I had to change him, I'd maybe say to up his damage. Killing princesses and dark goblins would be very useful in terms of base interactions, and also just ups his overall DPS on defense. In my opinion, the card was designed wrongly. It requires too much focus on that building, and I think that concept should be changed. The troop inside should be much more effective in my eyes, so maybe just buff his overall stats and make the card cost more elixir? I have no idea, but either way, I do like new concept coming into the game, so this is not a complaint by any means. Simply, it's just me commentating on the card's underwhelming power level. Anyway boys, if you enjoyed today's video about the Goblin Cage and want more like this, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. I do Clash Royale theory, content, strategy and all that jazz, so it's worth both of our time to be here. Thank you for watching once more, I hope you enjoyed, and peace.